Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Tyler Coates, also known as Sawcruteez, here with my two favorite honest analysts, Joe Saz and Fibbo Swanee. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot to talk about this evening, as the price has basically was moving fast on our last show, and then maybe has gotten a little bit boring since then, which is what the market seems to love to do. Is while you want it to take you to your destination at 60 miles an hour, it either is going there at 110, like Joe Saz in his new car, or it's going about 15, like the grandma that you are getting frustrated because you're tailgating. And that is, there isn't much in between, especially with Bitcoin. So that will give us plenty to talk about. And before diving in, I would like everybody to take a quick glance down at the description. Do have an exciting new thing to share with everyone over at Bitcoin Consultants, btconsultants.io, and this is another free guide to help people stack more Satoshis for things that they do every day, or potentially make a big difference to the bottom line of their business income or business expenses. And basically, if you are to come here, it looks like that doesn't want to link, so I'll have to try to figure that out. You can come and copy and paste for now, or type it into your browser. It'll take you here, and it's going to show you how you can learn how consumers are doubling down on their credit card rewards and earning Bitcoin, how business owners are paying 0% credit card and debit card processing fees, and how entrepreneurs can potentially develop a side income, or potentially even a main income, in Bitcoin by bringing these two parties together. So this is something I've been using for a while. Basically, as soon as I found out and looked into it, I decided it was well worth it for me to go ahead and link my cards. The cards that I already have, don't have to get a new card. It's all free, the guide, and going to sign up there. And then there are just going to be select stores that will give you, basically, think about credit card rewards. When I use my credit card, I get credit card rewards from the companies, and then maybe stores have their own credit cards and they give you rewards for that, like loyalty, that sort of stuff. So there are stores, big ones like Walmart just came on board, if I'm remembering correctly. And what I've used it for is travel expenses, and Walgreens I was just at recently, Starbucks. I'm stacking sats when I buy coffee. I'm not thinking about trade my Bitcoin for coffee necessarily, but anyways, there's a lot of places that you can use it, and it's essentially going to be just like a credit card reward, where when you shop there and you use your card that you already have that is linked through this service, now you can get Bitcoin rewards for shopping there. And why I say doubling down is that you could pay for it on your credit card and get credit card rewards. And then if your credit card is linked, you get Bitcoin rewards as well. So something I'm really excited about. And like I said, something I use myself. I think it's going to be a great way to spread adoption, specifically because they're able to allow, when I have my card linked and I go to Starbucks now and I use my card, Starbucks pays 0% fees in their for that transaction. So Starbucks pays nothing, and I get Bitcoin rewards, so I'm happy. And then there are even other significant incentives. It links with a payment processor that many business owners already use. So unfortunately, that's only available for Americans. This last part is available to everyone. You can, if you get somebody like Walmart or Walgreens to sign up and become part of this network, there are going to be some much bigger rewards in that than just anything up here. So that would definitely be available to anybody. So maybe a little bit longer than I wanted to go there, but something like I said that I'm excited about, I'm using. If you guys aren't, you should definitely check it out and ask me if you have any questions, because for anybody in America that wants to earn more Bitcoin, for me, it's well worth it. So that being said, I am excited to go ahead and dive into what we are here for, and that is some good and honest price action. Do we have any volunteers for who might want to go first this week? It looks like Joe's raising his hand. He's passing it over to Fibbo, an anti-volunteer. So I guess in that case,
we am I sitting on this side? Is that what it is?
I guess
if this was 64-bit, if this was Pac-Man, either way, I point it gets to you.
Well, I
can dive in.
I'm excited for you to dive in. Before jumping into the charts, let us know how are you doing, Fibbo? It sounds like you had a busy week. You keeping caught up with this Bitcoin market?
Yeah, actually, I've been pretty busy at work on my day job. So what I did was I set some alerts to let me know if it's going to break out of the range that I need to look at, and it hasn't broken out all week. So it's been keeping me. It's been nice because it hasn't broken out of the range that I needed to look at, and it kind of helped me do my day job and not worry about Bitcoin as it kind of stays in this noise of an area that I'm looking at. So it's all been working out this week so far.
That's perfect. So a quick question before you dive in that situation, are you, did you just like to set alerts? So once you get an alert, you kind of know what to do? You already kind of, would you ever have like a stop order set to where it would just go ahead and trigger and enter you once it got to a certain price? How do you deal with these kind of rangy type of situations that nobody seems to like?
Well, actually, this one was just more of a letting me know if a shallow fib level was going to be hit or not. And currently, the one I was looking at on the 4 hour was around 10.6, and we never really got up to 10.6 yet. So it never alerted me. So that was the only alert that I had this week, was really the 10.6 alert. But yeah, there are times that I would set alerts to let me know when it is time to go long or short, depending on certain things. But for this week, it was just more of a, hey, get your head out of work and come over here and look at Bitcoin if it pops up. So that's because I was pretty busy with my head in some models this week, so I didn't have a lot of time to stare at Bitcoin. So that's what alerts are for, right? So you can go on with life and wait for the alert, right?
I think alerts are a very underrated, undervalued part of trading, and I realize that when I see somebody that's even better at using alerts than myself, or even maybe somebody who's willing to go that extra mile, and that is Joe Saz himself, who will set alerts that are so loud he wakes up at 3 a.m. and wipes the drool off his face and turns on the computer and smashes his orders, and then I guess just puts one eye to sleep. I don't know how he does it, but I think alerts can be a tremendous way to stay on top of the market without needing to sit there and be glued to a 1 minute chart all day. So enough of that. Fibbo, give us what you got.
Yeah, I can't share my screen, so enable me, please.
Oh, you said please this time. All right. I was just making sure that that you'd learned your manners. From now on, you should be good to go.
There you go. All right. So you should be able to see my screen. I have 4 charts that I want to kind of go over, and I'm just going to kind of keep looking at this pattern that we've been following. So if there's a repeat, we'll learn something as we go, because I'm sure I'll bring something else up that I probably forgot last time. So the 4 hour on the Bitcoin US dollar chart here, one of the things, once this hit this threshold, I put some black arrows on here because this is what I wanted to explain. This right here was the threshold point where it broke down from the bull zone and into the bear zone at this point. And the ADX was increasing for the bears at the time of this break. Now that we've made a low at around 98 or so, I've taken this as the start of my fib all the way down to this current low to look for where because we got to flip our minds because we've been in a bull market for a while, but now we're in a bear market here, at least on the 4 hour, and we have to look the other way to see where the resistance is at that shallow fib, because this shallow fib has to hold to keep the trend going to the downside. And right now, that with the low that's been set so far, the 38.2 is right there at 10.6. So that was my alert to let me know if this was even going to go above 38.2 or the 38.2% level. And if it did, I would want to come down here and look at the RSI to see if it was breaking out of the bearish zone or not. And also if we were getting a crossover on the ADX. So one of the things that I've seen so far is, as it's the other Fibonacci levels on here, the blue ones that I'm following also, which is the longer term fibs that we talked about last week. The 38.2% level busted, and then the 61.8% level busted, which was right at 10.4. It broke down right here, closed 3 days under. It actually went up and came back down, but it never had 3 days settle back above it. So now this becomes the resistance point, at least for the long-term look. And so far, every time we've tested it, it hasn't been giving us anything to settle over it at all just yet. And as you can see, as this resistance is being tested at this long-term threshold Fibonacci level that I've been following, the bearish zone on the 4 hour has come up and touched its resistance here as it's touching the 61.8%. So we need this price to bust up here a little bit and get some momentum and to break out of this bearish zone. And so far, even on the 4 hour, even though we worked up, all this period in here from the 9,800 to 10.4 is really all noise to me. This is kind of that liminal space that just kind of lets me just kick back and wait for signals. And right now, that's just kind of the space that I'm in at the moment. It's kind of limbo land for me. Now, of course, you can trade in and out on shorter time frames for sure, and I'm sure Joe will cover that. But when it comes to the overall trend in the market, right now it's showing the bearish side here on the 4 hour. Now, we did get a little bit of a crossover on the directional index lines down here on the ADX, but for two things. The ADX was decreasing as the crossing was happening, and the negative directional index is still just trying to edge up a little bit, and they're kind of both working in parallel. See if I can blow that up a little bit. Actually, it didn't even cross yet. So it tried to cross and it didn't. I know on a couple other exchanges there was a crossover, but the momentum was down, and they were both running parallel to the downside. So to me, that's a non-signal. It's one that I don't really care for as something that as a red flag. So the red flag for me is just not there yet. So the bears are actually still in control on the ADX. Just losing momentum a little bit, but it's still in an area where the bears have a little bit of power, and the bearish zone is still there. So that's what I'm looking at here. And then since the 61.8% level has busted to the downside, it leaves the risk to the 91.45 full retracement that you can see a little bit better on the daily that I have out here on this one. And same kind of thing. I know there's a lot on this chart, but what I wanted to lay out was this latest threshold point that we just pointed out on the 4 hour here on the daily. We were in this bullish zone here for a while down here as the market was working up, and then we had this black trend line, and then it broke the trend line right here to the downside, and we went into this area consolidation that I have highlighted in green, and then there was and then right at the break point, I drew a horizontal line over here. Kind of a resistance trend line. And then as it was consolidating, as you can see, the ADX or the RSI dropped down into the lower portion of the bull zone, but never broke out yet until this point here. And then that's when it worked its way up into this little triangle kind of thing. And then this trend line broke to the downside. And then that's when it broke into the bearish zone. And then the ADX increased, and then we got the bears in control of the downside. So what that leaves us is that with the move to the downside here, I got the fibs going the other direction, which is that 10.6. That's that upside fib that I want to watch for a break to the upside. But what happens is this risk to the downside, as long as we're in this bearish mode, I wouldn't be surprised for us to get down to that 9100. And if momentum gets really, really crazy, all the way down to this second critical support between 77 and 8200, because that's where, if it makes new lows under here, that's where the fib extension is off the lows. If it breaks that 9100 to the downside, that fib extension is the area to really watch right down in this area. So that's where I marked that. One of the things I'm also looking at, which is probably going to match up here pretty soon, is this 55 exponential moving average here on the blue. It's going to start inching its way down toward the 38.2% level that I have here at 10.6, where it's getting pretty close to there. And this is a pretty significant line, as you can see when you look back at history here. It definitely held resistance here with no three settles above it, held resistance, and then the market busted to the upside right here, three settles above, and then all of a sudden you've been trading above it. Now you got into this period of consolidation in this bearish zone, but when you look at the ADX was still pretty low. So when you look at a horizontal line here, the ADX is actually higher than it was at this point, because it didn't even get really back above 20 too much. So this wasn't like kind of an area of consolidation for the bears. So you never really got any big momentum push off of this moving average. And if you look at it really closely, it never had 3 days settle underneath. It just went back and forth. It did settle 3 days above it right here, but it was already above it back here. So it was still not a lot of signals to do anything. And then as you can see, it popped back up again. But this is the key. This really broke down, and we broke down easily with 3 days settle underneath this moving average. And as we're in this bearish zone, that's pretty ugly when it comes to reading the charts from the way I like to look at things. So to me, this downside is still risk. I want to say, I call it a trade zone or current risk, depending on which way you're looking at it. And that's why on the long term, that 38.2 at the 9100 is that first level for me to watch, because that's going to be my main level to get out of my long-term holds if this breaks to the downside and wants to get down to this 7,700 or so. So that's what I'm looking at on the daily. The one thing that there is still a little bit of hope is when you look at the weekly here is still well into the bullish zone, and the bulls are in control here on the ADX. And we've only had the first week underneath the 38.2, and it's trying to test it to the upside. So if we can get back above this, I think this is when the daily and the 4 hour will start to kick back above these levels, and then we can get this market back going again. But this thing can drop all the way down to the 61.8% level on the weekly, which is around 9,300. And that moving average is right around 9,100 or about 9,000 or so. So this whole area down in here, it could go to before I think it would drop out of these ranges, because this is a little bit more longer term. So there is a sign of hope that the longer term bullish is still in play. But it's the 4 hour and the daily that's showing us a little bit of negativity to the downside. So lastly, I want to show this chart. This is just a daily for Bitcoin. And one thing I was looking at some patterns and some other things here is this trend line right here. And this isn't really based off my thresholds, but this is just some other things I was looking at. Was this broke the trend line right here, came back up and retested at this point, and then came back down. And this is kind of like a weird looking kind of head and shoulders maybe, or some kind of weird trend line type deal. And then it broke at this point to go up, and then it came back down and retested right at this break point. So what I did was I was kind of looking at this, and I wanted to look at some fibs here. And as you're working your way up, actually I usually start it at the point of the break or the start of the break. And then you work your way up right here. As you can see, it came down to 61.8% level and held. You go up to the next high, and next high, I've talked about this before, held to 38.2, but you work your way out all the way to where we're at now. And the interesting thing is this is sitting on this 38.2 level based off of this pattern, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then this almost looks like a little bit of a break to where you can have like an upside down flag pattern or pennant pattern of some sort, to where, you know, if you measure this out and if it does start to break to the downside, it's going to get us pretty close to that 61.8% level, which is around at 8,400. So that's something to keep an eye out for some breakdown. But right now, this level, this horizontal area right in here, which is right around that 38.2, has been holding. So that kind of gives us this zone. But here's the interesting thing. If you go and you flip this and you look at it inverted, and what I did was I looked at it this way, and I just wanted to see what the fib level was when you take it from this low up to this high right here, like that. The 127 to 144 range is down in this area right in here. So basically what this says is it went past the 100% and went all the way to the 127, which is the first area of a possible reversal. So that makes me a little nervous that this daily is getting into a zone that makes me not want to buy. That's why I've been kind of sitting back and just waiting for a move to the upside. So this zone in here is where I would look at for a reversal. And so far, that's what we've been kind of seeing, because we kind of reversed from this point, broke out of this trend line right here. And then if you look at it from inverse, you got the move to the upside here that would put us back up into this range, or, you know, up into the point of the 61.8%, which is around 7,900. So when you look at this one of 7,900, and then you go back and you look at the other way, when you look at the fib going the other direction, from my threshold kind of feel, then you're looking at 8,300. So when you look at the 74 and the 83 based on this pattern, and you go back to like the daily here, the 77 to 83 makes a lot of sense if this breaks down a low and works its way all the way down to this upside down flag pattern to get us into that second critical support. So I'm an honest analyst, and I'm going to say that I'm still bearish, and I'm going to stay bearish because my threshold has told me that it's busted here. And if you bought on the near term, you would have bought around 9,200 or so on this break, and then you would have sold out at 11.2 on the break of the 38.2, and maybe sold a little bit more at 10.4 for profit. But you should be out of anything near term. But then the long term is that 9,100. 38.2 or the 38.2% level that I'm watching for that first key support. So once it gets down there, then I'll reevaluate if that's a spot that it's going to reverse or not, or if it's going to punch through. So I hate to be bearish, but that's where I'm sitting.
Well, I appreciate you going through all of your analysis and then coming to a conclusion in terms of direction. And I guess a couple first things to clarify is, you know, of course, I'm sure everybody knows there's a difference between being bearish and being short, and then there's also a difference between being short and having that just hedging your long exposure. And last we spoke, you were flat the market. Has your bearishness maybe caused you to go a little bit net short, or are you just staying flat for now?
No, in the near term, on my near-term trades, I'm flat. I still haven't done anything since we talked last week because I wanted to get this moving back to the upside. So I'm either going to be buying toward 9,200 if it moves down there and it looks like it's a spot to buy, or I'm buying on a break. It'll probably take 11.1 or higher to start getting that trend going back the other way, because I'm a conservative player, so I'm willing to buy at 11.1 instead of trying here at 10.3, knowing that the trend is a little bit more solidified and going the other direction. Because I feel like if we get the 11.1 and everything starts to switch back to the bull zone and everything's getting a little bit of buying interest, then I feel like that 13.8 is back in the picture. And I'd rather just buy it with the trend a little stronger instead of trying to pick an area in here and just kind of getting eaten alive back and forth. Or I wait until it gets down to 9,100 or so, and if it looks like it's a buy there, that's when my next buy would be. So on the short term, I'm still flat. My long term play is all been hedged at 10K with puts until September 20th. And then that's when I'll decide. I'll take, if we're down at 9,100, that's when I'll exit the puts. And then I'll decide to either sell the actual longs that I have. If I think it's going to go to 7,700, I'll probably do that. But right now I don't have to do anything for at least the next 10 days because my puts have got me covered and hedged 100%. So that's why I could relax this week and not do anything.
Beautiful, and I'm glad to hear it because I'm going to be joining you this weekend for hopefully a couple beers and then maybe a few discs out there. So I'm glad to hear that you won't have any excuses when I take some money off of you, which is my plan. So we'll have to see how that works out. The best laid plans.
Oh, you're talking money per hole? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, all right. Yeah, we got to start somewhere, and I like where you're starting. So yeah, this is all good stuff. So a number of things that Fibbo went over a lot that even for me it was hard to pay attention, keep up with it all. I was paying close attention and had my notepad and everything, and he covered a lot, but I think there are a handful of just very important things that I want to sum up. And first is that he's talking about being bearish, and he's only talking about buying. He's talking about buying if the price goes down from here, and then where his bearishness would be wrong, he knows exactly what level to buy higher from here. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't grasp as well as they should, specifically out on social media and whatnot. If price bumps up to 11.1 and you are and you're buying, then the common response, well, why didn't you buy when it was cheaper down at 99 or whatever? And it's not about the price, getting the best price. It's about getting a good setup and sticking to the rules. So I like that you were able to tell us exactly what your bias is, and then you're also able to tell us, exactly where you're going to be making some moves. And in the meantime, you're able to use that to not get your head screwed into the ground by this chop that may happen in between, which somebody like Joe Saz may be in there potentially making some profit on some action like that. So thanks again, Fibbo, for your analysis, and let's go ahead and send it on over to Joe. I like seeing that you're wearing a hoodie. I sure hope that isn't the hoodie that you owe me that you're trying out before sending it my way.
No, this one's this one's staying here. You have a much better one coming. Don't worry.
Oh, good. And unused, I hope.
Well, debatable. We'll see. I might need to wear it a couple times just to show you who's boss. Get my scent on it. But anyways, so yeah, talking just briefly. I think we're still on Fibbo's screen share. Talking just briefly here about making money in chop zones. I learned a pretty important lesson, and it came from a helpful, wise master in disguise there. Every once in a while you get fed a little gem, right, from a unexpected source. And so my friend hit me up and was like, yo, we got to talking, and I've been building out 2.5 and doing all this shit. And, the truth is, it's not more noise that you need in a volatile situation. I made a couple trades where I got stopped out, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? My gold mine's lit in the 2 to 5. My gold mine's lit in the 5 to 10. I'm getting signals in the 1 to 2.5 band. And we'll go over that here in a bit. But then shortly after, getting stopped out a couple times, I needed a break. And let's see, this should be, hold on, let me make sure I get to the right screen share. This is it. So basically what I've done was take out the noise and only focus back on the original, like, SAS signal, Bitcoin sniping type shit. And so that's like what's been getting me back into choppy market trades. It's been a difficult ride. I got stopped out of about 3 out of 4 trades, and that's when I took about a 3-day break. And then I came back to the past 3 or so trades all profitable. So, I just wanted the audience to know when you're in a chop zone, you get chopped up a little bit and you take a lap, okay? And second, reduce some of that volume. There's a lot of noise going on, especially in a high volatile area, and you just got to take the wins. You gotta slow it down, reduce the noise, take the wins, walk away clean. And so, anyways, a little bit of a lesson going into all this, but you can see that we were, defending price pretty violently as we moved down. I've changed the color of the signals so everything kind of represents a gold mine in a sense. And the darker the color, the more powerful the signal. The lighter the color, the less powerful the signal. So there's obviously some signals that you want to take with a little bit more heat. If I was a robot, I would be trading a certain way, which I have been, especially in high volatility situations. But there's been tons and tons of great opportunities to get out with, a leveraged position with, a 1 to 5% move or something like this. I mean, even right here, it's got to be 2.81% or something, 2.65%. So, just and it probably had like 2.8 going into that wick. So, you have a 10x leverage trade up in here. You got yourself a nice exit, in that range, in that, 2% plus, then you're talking about 20% profit, right? So I'm just talking, I've been staggering into some trades. Don't hesitate in my case, to buy multiple entries, stacking in with sometimes as low as 0.5x per entry, 1x per entry, taking the signals for a little bit of a ride, not always. In fact, most of the time I want to get out. I don't really care about missing all this lost opportunity. I just want to lock in profits in a chop zone. And yeah, so this has been the past we're probably catching up to where I've been trading. This one actually broke my heart. Got in, got out, and I couldn't get back in. Didn't get my fill, and then I lowered my order to try to get back in on the short, and I missed it. So this is my most recent one that got away. So now I'm just waiting for signals. Like now that volatility is high, what did I do about this one? Did I do something? I'd have to look, but I might have missed this. This was yesterday night, and I was busy with busy, and I missed that. So, anyways, interesting though on kind of a macro view, since Fibbo was talking about it a bit. We do have this strong horizontal region of support, and into this run, we did have some good moves to the upside. We did break a resistance zone without a signal. So that meant that there were buyers chasing the book, or that the previous couple punctures of that zone weren't filled with static orders shortly after. So this wasn't a distribution zone. Very possible that this was a distribution zone for a small majority, or a small minority, as opposed to a vast majority. And they're not just completely refilling their limit outs, their exits, and just capping out price. So it's good to see that buyers are chasing the book a little bit. But on quick observation here and just looking at the book, I can see that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you went through something quickly that I couldn't quite wrap my head around that I think could be very important. When you talked about the price moving through about 10.4 without a signal occurring, you said that could mean, I think you said one of two things that could mean. Could you give us that again?
Yeah, so this means that, and it could also be A plus B. So one of two things or both things happening at once. So one thing that it could mean is that sellers are not refilling the book with their sells. If you have a zone that keeps getting picked at, let's call that easy money ranges, right? Where if you know the top of a range and you know the bottom of a range and you know that it's probably going to play for a while because liquidity is relatively high, or at least in a neutral zone. So you're trading in a space where you might go sideways for 3 days, 10 days, who knows. You really want to be getting consistent signals in those ranges. Like on the buy side, for example, this area got picked at, and then when we came right back down to touch it, there were buyers ready and refilling the book in order to do so. In addition to that, it's possible that there weren't as many sellers chasing the book down after we got to that, distribution zone and down to this accumulation zone. So it simply means that now that we've broken through an area where we have consistent signal, one signal here, and then we have this breakthrough of that price range and even into the band itself without getting a signal, it kind of expresses to me that bears are trying to get some fills, but they're not really stacking the book heavily, and maybe buyers are building it up some confidence. So it's very like this is the exact psychology I'd want to see in an ascending triangle. And here we kind of have something that closely resembles that, at least on a small time frame. Definitely an ascending pattern, definitely a horizontal resistance level. So I'm definitely optimistic in some short-term plays, but again, I'm just trading trading signals to exit. I'm not trading signal to signal. I do think that Fibbo is probably on the right track with being bearish. I think that what we've done is caused some short-term irreparable damage to Bitcoin's certainty. For a lot of people, the hope has gone up and all that stuff. And 87, man, it's a little dark to get down that far, but we did spend some time in these ranges, and we did get extremely excited up in this 12.4 range. I do think that a pullback wouldn't be completely off the table and completely unwarranted. So I'm going to play the signals as I see them. My last couple were shorts. I've obviously been playing signal, like I mentioned, signal just a simple exit. 1% is fine with me right now. In a sideways choppy market, you don't want to get caught up in too much leverage for too much time. So I'm happy to be in and out of trades. Heck, in the same candle if I can. There's this one over here, and I'm not gonna forget. This was one hell of a move, man. Exited. It took the long, exited somewhere early, and then I was just trying to chase it. It's not very often you get a signal to signal in 20 minutes. So this has been a hot time, and this stuff like this that reminds you why you need to be happy to be taking those positions and those 1% and those 0.5%, especially when your certainty level is low, but you don't want to stop trading because you got to keep your brain sharp, and you got to stay in control of your emotions, and you got to learn how to trade in volatile situations to begin with anyways, dealing with Bitcoin. So yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, the bid-ask spread is pretty heavily in favor of the bulls, with 8,400 Bitcoin in liquidity, about 8,500. That's 5,600, 0 to 10% in favor of the bulls, 2,800 in favor of the bears. So a pretty strong dominance there in favor of the bulls. So in order for there to be a sell-off, there needs to be one hell of a reason. I mean, this is clearly, this is the reason why you would sell at this point while the bid-ask spread is so high would be to avoid as much slippage as possible, which is something only whales are concerned with. So in order for there to be a sell-off here, there needs to be a damn good reason. Maybe COVID, maybe some other shit. Who knows what the external variable is? But I don't really see a sell-off happening here unless there's a really, really damn good reason for there to be, and panic is certainly one of them. But yeah, so the market's kind of at normal liquidity levels, just on the low end of normal liquidity levels. So we'll probably be getting less of this type of signal, ratio value at this X. So I think that we're gonna have to deal with, I'm gonna add some more noise back soon. But yeah, I'm just gonna be trading signal to signal. If there is a big sell-off coming, it's gonna come with some sort of narrative, and it's going to come sweeping hard and fast. And I think it's less likely that breaks, but again, it just depends on the incentive, and we always wonder that, right? So I just don't want to be on the wrong side of history with any trades. I'm just trying to stack corn because we're going to come back up here. We're going to come back to the moon. We're going to go back above it. So as I trade on small time frames, it's not always going to be about making tons and tons of dollars. It's just going to be about making Bitcoin and farming that corn, putting it away. And when Bitcoin does hit 20K and you're up more Bitcoin than you were at 7,000, you're going to be 10 times happier. So just don't get greedy. Take the small trades. It is a chop zone. Liquidity is kind of on the uncomfortable end of market volatility. Less liquidity means more market volatility. And once we get through all that, then it's going to make its deciding move. And I don't think anything Fibbo said is unreasonable. I just think that there needs to be a damn good reason for a sell-off. And as we near the end of the year, I've been expecting a second narrative to be the fire that, or a flame that sparks that fire would probably be like a COVID wave 2 thing. And I've already seen examples of the media trying to set that stage. So yeah, that's kind of like my final thoughts there. And of course, you know, we have a couple CME gaps to the downside. We opened up today with a small gap in the lower in the probably the 10,300 range. So you know, just short-term moves here. But I do think that, you know, COVID wave 2 is going to be the thing that would be a narrative that creates the demand to sell into such massive buy-side liquidity.
Excellent. Certainly appreciate your input, and I'm, I guess, leaning a little bit more towards your perspective in that seeing a lot of demand, and thinking, and so far the support is looking good. It's still very close, hanging on the edge for me, but I am thinking that there really shouldn't be a reason for a big wave of sellers to come in, and I'm not going to myself start to think about, you know, what may happen that could cause that. We'll be more trying to focus on just, you know, what's there in front of us, and I do think that it's favoring the bulls, if anything, and that's by a whisker. That being said, so not that it matters either way, but I appreciate you sharing, and I am leaning that way myself. So thank you very much for that input, and yeah, keep good to see that you're getting some good signals in the range that Fibbo and I are sitting on the sidelines for. So I'll go ahead and get into what I got. It shouldn't take too long here. I have definitely a few charts to share, and I'm not sure if my opinion's really changed since last week. So just pulling up a chart now, and that looks about ready, except it's the wrong chart. Okay. And one last thing I'm realizing I was meaning to mention earlier that I forgot to is that the information I shared earlier, it's I was also out here on Twitter, and would obviously appreciate any support that anybody shows there. Really meant a lot to me last week or a couple weeks ago when you guys were able to show your support, and I just wanted to mention that.
Did you block me already? BTC consultants? Just kidding. I see you now.
Actually, bridge to Bitcoin is the @.
Yeah. I was just messing. A lot of people. There's a lot of blocking going on. Damn, he's blocking everyone.
All right. Let's see here. Just gonna clean this up just a little bit and look at a higher time frame on EMASAR than I usually do, because it's something I was paying attention to in real time, but I didn't really believe, and as such, I will be, you know, stocking that in the back of my mind. Excuse me, and that is the sky squeeze here that occurred on the 12-hour Bitcoin chart. Sky squeeze happens when the sky merges with the beach. And this was signaling volatility with the sky squeeze, and it was specifically signaling it to the downside due to the ocean here providing the setup that is referred to as the spring, which occurs when the angle of the ocean moves opposing to the trend. So right here we have a bear trend with this, the beach here, ocean here. When it's above, that's bearish, below, that's bullish. So here we see that it's a bear trend, but the ocean is angling up. We have the median here, which is called the buoys. If we just draw a line over that, we can see clearly angled up. So that is what gives a squeeze, and that is excuse me, this is a squeeze. This is the spring. It is a situation that I call it a spring because it's like a spring that's pushed together really tight, that's ready to pop, and it shows a lot of pressure kind of in this direction, being that the trend is bearish, but you've moved so deeply into the bearish trend that the ocean and the beach have actually started to move up. So it's a situation where that's like a lot of pressure built up when you've moved this deep into a bear trend. And it's a spot where it's I haven't had this indicator long enough to really understand the probabilities of these setups with any degree of confidence, but it's a setup I'm gaining more and more confidence for, that as you get into this pressure zone, this is how the pressure gets released. Here's the pressure release valve where you dump into the sky, and the sky then kind of moves down after squeezing into the beach. So like I said, that was something I was watching, but there were so many other things that I've been, that have been so much more important to me for so much longer that I didn't do anything about it. And as that type of thing happens, you start to pay closer and closer attention, at least if you're trading this or if you're like me. And let's just take a look at an inverse situation here where we had the bull trend with the beach here and the ocean here. It starts moving down right here, and the sky comes and squeezes, and then you get that little pop up, and then your little pressure release. And this is from here where the setup's kind of over. After that happens, I really, for me, it's a 50-50, whatever can happen from there. But from here, I think it's better than 50% chance that you do get that little bounce up into there. So that is definitely something that I pay close attention to on the 4 hour, which is the time frame that I use primarily. And as we can see, a very similar situation happening here on the 4 hour, with this sky coming in and squeezing in a bull trend, and the buoys angling down in the bull trend, with, very importantly, the buoys acting as support. So here is where I've been watching very closely for price to reclaim the top of the ocean. If it can't do that in short order, we'll be finding ourselves in a no trade zone. And right here was where I gave it, I think, 2 to 3 days, and said we need to move, get out of this ocean, or else EMASAR is going to be basically telling us to get out. So this whole time has been very much liminal space, all of this too, as we're coming down, testing the buoy, which is the critical line in the sand for me, and I guess line in the ocean, if you will. And so that was all, very nervous to see what's going to happen there, and then to see we've got very little time. We need to make a move. There's 2 ways that EMASAR can basically tell you to get out. That's if you move too far below the buoy for any amount of time, or if you spend too much time in the ocean, then you're going to be getting out. And basically what the ocean represents, specifically between the top of the ocean and the buoy here, is the area where I would expect runs on stops to occur. And I just somehow zoomed something weird. There we go. So yeah, this is where I expect the run on stops to occur, which is specifically why I outline it on the website as the area that you can double down if you're not already, fully entered at this time, would be to look at buying the beach. And then if price does get down into the ocean right here, this is where, again, think about a run on stops. It should either, it shouldn't last long. It should come down and either take out a low and move back up really quickly, or maybe hang down and keep taking out lows time after time after time, and then just kind of fail to push further before getting a nice little reaction there. So that's the 2 things that I look for a run on stop, and that's why if it gets down in here, it just can't spend too much time here. or else it really starts to appear to be much more than that. And this is definitely reminding me of the last time we were hanging out in the ocean. And that was here. So I'm certainly not expecting this at all. That's not what I'm expecting, but I have to keep it tucked in the back of my mind as what can happen if we do kind of get some sort of pop that fails to follow through. And then if you come and really break this down, now you're no longer in an area that you should expect a run on stops or that sort of thing. So just kind of zooming out to take a look at probably the best example, which was that ridiculous run. It was a record run in Bitcoin in like 24, 48 hours or so, that just shot from down here at the sky up into the ocean, actually shot all the way through. So it did shoot far above, but not for long at all. It's definitely, it didn't go far enough, and definitely not long enough. And then here the buoy turns into resistance, and that was your kind of run on stops for anybody that was maybe shorting in here and using that as a stop. Also worked to trap in bulls who ended up, you know, longing there or what have you. So I definitely think that it is a critical time anytime price enters the 4-hour ocean. And I guess, I mean, I'm sure the same is true for any higher time frame where there is enough history to illustrate. And that's where the daily is also kind of painting a similar picture in terms of, here's our marker that when we reverse, we really want to see price support above this and then follow through like we saw.
Yo, Sock, someone's asking what EMASAR is. They said MSR, but I think you might want to take this quick opportunity to talk about your beautiful work here.
Oh, well, I certainly appreciate it. And yeah, this is the indicator. Actually, a perfect opportunity to talk about something else I wanted to, but this is the indicator that I have been developing along with Johann Duplessis, who is a tremendous programmer. And I wanted to give a quick shout out because there's a new update coming that is going to be published tonight if I'm able to get the tutorial together in time and pack in time and all that, as I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow. But I wanted to give Johann a shout out because he did a great job on everything to do with this indicator, but also with this most recent update that I'm going to be publishing tonight. And I just wanted to let anybody know that has used MSR and is, you know, happy with it or whatever. If you want to send a tip, send it to Johann. He would very much appreciate that. And yeah, MSR is going to be the indicator that I use to trade. And if you would like to get more information, come on over to Sawcruteez.com. There is an investor mode and a trader mode with a massive update coming to the website. So stay tuned, a new domain and everything. But if you want to learn about MSR, here's how it's spelled. There's videos on YouTube that are going to be linked here, tutorial to the investor mode and the trader mode. Trader mode is what I am using now. So thank you, Joe, for bringing that up, and was just going to show how the action on Bitcoin on the 4-hour on this reversal was exactly what we wanted to see. And it was fortunate enough to be able to follow this in real time with the reversal and then the marker acting as support. So now you have the beach above the marker, and that's your confirmed reversal. That's a reversal with follow through, one that has legs, I would say. And while the daily was looking good, as we reversed and turned that into support, now it's fallen below. And here I'll watch to see, is this moving average able to cross it? It's still got some time. If we're able to pop back above this, then that would be another really good indication of a run on stops where we fall below this, what I would consider the high level of liquidity. and then find support from the beach. And then if we get back above, then it would now be confirmed and looks like it's ready for follow through. So a little bit shorter time frame chart I posted, I think yesterday, was just keeping an eye on this 15-minute as we were approaching the buoy up in here and in the ocean with the sky kind of coming in for potential squeeze. So paying attention to that and paying very close attention to the 1 hour as well, as we see a sell signal recently that worked out well for the time being. We'll see if it continues to. And the other thing that is in confluence here is going to be the Fibonacci level. If we take a look at kind of this leg down, kind of gonna maybe start at where the marker broke, maybe we start at the high, maybe start at the low. Either way, we're gonna see this 318 as a very important level so far, as we have been resisting. And as that fib comes in line with the beach, that's something I pay very close attention to. Now, potentially a pull up and into a crossover with the 200, potentially crossing that fib. So this is the last thing that's really looking bearish to me, and still has me worried. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of things, but this is the main thing that's going to be on the top of my mind is this fib right here, this fib at 10.4, 10.43, this fib here at 10.8, 10.83, and then the incoming buoy right there. So a lot of work to do to reclaim that ground, but if it can reclaim 10.8 and turn that into support, then that would be final confirmation for me that we're ready to revisit local highs. And if we instead continue to resist this 10.43, we can't keep testing it too many times, and this would make a lot of sense that this could be the last if it holds as resistance, that as that 200 is coming in to cross, that if that holds again, I would be expecting lows to be taken out, where I do have stops set as price has been trying to build support off of this buoy. I'm not going to be I'm not interested if we end up breaking down that level. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm still feeling good, but there is a number, at least one or two reasons for concern, as there always is when there isn't. That probably is time to exit fully and maybe even flip the position. There should always be a good amount of contention on both sides. If it just seems too darn clear on one side, then it's generally the wrong side to be on. So I am feeling good about what we're seeing, but it's still very liminal as we continue to tread water in the ocean. And I will be very interested to see if it can reclaim that critical top level there. And that being said, look at that, 6:30 on the dot, and I am done with everything I got to say. Could I time that any better?
That was actually really good, because you had like that extended BTC consultants thing. I was like, damn, this is going over.
Yep, we kept that right on time because we started a couple minutes late, so I think we still even got a couple minutes to sign off with style. And that being said, I'm pretty happy with a couple of the nicknames that I've come up with Fibbo, so maybe it's got me feeling a little bit confident to try my luck with a couple for Joe. So before we sign off, I'm going to throw a couple out there and just see if any stick. So the first one that is kind of in tribute to the danger signals that I'm such a fan of that name is calling you Alcatraz Saz. What do you think about that?
Alcatraz Saz. I think of I'm a prison breaker. Yeah, I'll
dangerous signals. All right. I got a softer one for you if that one's too hard. And this one even comes with an intro. It's picture somebody, kind of seeing Joe in the distance, and they start wondering, is that a car? Is that a train? No. That's the Sasmanian devil.
Oh my goodness. I thought I'm supposed to be the one doing dad jokes.
I sure hope that sticks, because if not, I'll be the only one calling you. Maybe I'll get it patched up on my hoodie that you got sent in my way.
I was just thinking about that hoodie too. I was just
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, I like that one myself.
I liked Saz Toshi. I thought that was my favorite one.
Well, you can't give yourself a nickname, so keep trying.
No. Someone else gave it to me, and that was the one that I liked. Obviously, the only one that I've given myself is a humble corn farmer.
Well, good stuff. And thank you everybody for sticking with us and for supporting the show and everything that we do. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys that are here every week watching through each show. And anybody else that has a good nickname for Joe, send it my way, because I'm none of those stick. I'll need some more. I'll need some more ammo. So thank you guys for joining, and I will look forward to seeing Mr. Swanee this weekend, and look forward to talking to you, Joe, next week.
Yep.
Bring your disc play.
Hey, if it's a couple days, I might show up. So
I've got an extra bed in my hotel room with your name on it. A night in Louisville, before going to see Fibbo, and then heading over to Columbus, where I got another nice hotel as well. So you hop in the car, come join us. We'll maybe do a live show, but more importantly, we'll probably have so much fun. We wouldn't have any time for that.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, cheers, everybody. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe and click that bell and comment and all that good stuff. See ya.